Can a reader judge a book by its first paragraph or page? Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and today I will be doing the Quick to Judge Challenge. It was originally created a few years ago by Ali Risdal. Jess at Jess Book Girl TV has revived this challenge, and I saw a version at Pat with Book Chat with Pat. I know I did a version of this challenge way back when, a few years ago, but I think it's time to redo it because it can be a lot of fun. The general idea of this challenge is to pick some books, read the first paragraph or page, and then decide which book you most want to read. There are a few prompts. Number 1, pick 5 to 10 unread books from your shelves. Jess suggests that we avoid sequels. Number 2, read the first paragraph of every book. Number 3, rank the books based on the first paragraphs. Number 4, add your highest ranked book to your upcoming TBR. And number 5, invite others to do this challenge as well. I am going to be modifying the prompts just a little bit. Instead of reading only the first paragraph, I am going to be reading about the first page, maybe a little bit onto the second page when the paragraph does not end on the first page. I just want to have a more logical ending spot than just the first paragraph. I am also not going to rank my books. I am going to leave that up to the viewers of this video. You will be able to mention in the comments which of these 6 books you think I should read. I don't think there's a loser among these, so pick which one you think is best, and the book with the most votes I will read in March. If there is a tie, I will just have to break the tie myself. Or maybe if there's time, read both books. Who knows? And now, let me read the first page of my 6 books. The Seven Madmen by Roberto Arlt, originally published in 1928, translated from the Spanish by Nick Cassiter. As soon as he opened the frosted glass door to the manager's office, Remo Erdogan wanted to turn back. He realized he was a lost man, but it was too late. Waiting for him were the director, a short, squat man with the head of a wild boar, gray hair cropped short in the style of Umberto I of Italy, and an implacable glaze that filtered through gray fish eyes. Goldi, small, skinny, sweet-tongued, but with the calculating stare. The assistant manager, son of the man with the boar's head, a handsome young fellow of 30, with a shock of white hair and a cynical aspect. His voice gruff, his look as harsh as his father's. None of the 3, the director bending over some accounts, his assistant lolling back in an armchair with one leg dangling over the arm, or Guidaldi hovering respectively next to the desk, bothered to return Erdogan's greeting. Only the assistant manager lifted his head and said, "We've been told you're a swindler who has robbed us of 600 pesos. The Seven Madmen. The Lair by Morten A. Hansen, originally published 1942, translated from the Danish by Morten Hansen. The 13th of March, we have fog. Nathan, I suddenly feel the need to tell you something, or perhaps I just need someone to talk to. Don't worry, it's not like I have much to tell. It's the 13th of March, Nathan, a Friday. Very heavy fog out there. It's early afternoon, but here at my desk in my study, which I also use as my sitting and dining room, it's also dark. I can barely see what I'm writing. Ah well, it's nothing important. The 13th of March. Fog. We've had fog before, while the pack of ice has lain about the island, but it's not this mild, wet fog, Nathan. I was up early in the morning, before daybreak, and I saw that the fog had set over the island during the night. The bark in the line of spruce trees at the end of my garden is turning black with it, though right now I can barely make them out. Has spring actually arrived? I mean, in all seriousness, knock on wood. If this is really spring, I'm afraid there'll be a few troubled hearts here on the sand island, Nathan. The Liar. The Radiance of the King by Camera Lair, originally published 1954, translated from the French by James Kirkup. When Clarence reached the esplanade, he found his way blocked by such a vast, dense crowd that at first he felt it would be impossible to get through. He was tempted to turn back, but he had no say in the matter. He seemed to have no say in anything for some days now, and tucking in his elbows, he began to squeeze his way through the crowd. He made very slow progress. The black people whom he was shoving aside made no protest, but neither did they make any effort to clear a path for him. They seemed to be unaware of his presence, or pretended to be, and Clarence would find himself held up for minutes on end by some strapping torso round which it seemed impossible to work his way, or wedged as if in a vice between two great hips. At such moments it seemed to him as if he were trapped in this crowd as in a liquid that had suddenly congealed, or in a slowly shifting sand, and he felt unable to breathe, or maybe he was simply falling asleep. An odor of warm wool and oil, a herd-like odor that seemed to dull his senses into a kind of trance, emanated from these men packed tightly together under the African sky. Clarence must certainly have fallen asleep from time to time. Then gradually he began to shake off his torpor. Maybe the smell had become less strong. Maybe there was some other reason. But he started pushing his way forward again. The Radiance of the King. The Fawn by Magda Szabo, originally published in 1959, translated from the Hungarian by Len Rex. I wanted to be here sooner, but I had to wait for Gorica, and you know he's always late. He said he'd be here with me by 9, but it was well after 11 when I saw him stepping through the door. Everyone thinks he's a party education worker or a person delivering party leaflets, though he always has his doctor's bag with him. He stopped in the middle of the courtyard, blinked several times, looked around for the number he had been called to, number 39. As soon as he spotted it, the women left the gallery, shut the doors, and went back to their kitchens. When he finally got inside, he took a deep breath, mopped his brow, and asked for Jeezy, for a glass of water. As for my foot, it's nothing serious. I just needed to avoid walking on it and keep applying cold compresses. The swelling won't go down for another 24 hours yet, and no one is going to ask me to jump down from a tree between now and then. As Puck says, up and down, I shall lead them up and down. The Fawn. The Stone Face by William Gardner Smith, originally published in 1963. He leaned forward on the edge of his seat, his chin in his palms and his elbows on his knees, rocking imperceptibly to the movement of the train. It was evening, and in the fading light beyond the window, the flat green and brown French farmland hurried by. He found his lips almost forming a prayer, not in words, not to a god, but to an emotion reaching out to the earth, the sky, to the world in general. He was just under 30 and a Negro, and his name was Simon Brown. He had only one eye. A black patch covered the socket of the other. He was tall and slender, with nervous, sensitive hands. The others in the compartment chattered, but Simon did not join in. His mind was beyond the train, outside, in the spring air, already in Paris. A long journey, Simon thought. America was behind him. His past was behind him, and he was safe. Violence would not be necessary. Murder would not be necessary. Paris. Peace. The Stone Face. Blue Lard by Vladimir Sorokin, originally published in 1999, translated from the Russian by Max Lawton. Hello, mon petit, my heavy little boy, my tender bastard, my divine and vile top direct. Remembering you, such infernal business, rips Lorelei, this heavy in strict sense of the term. And dangerous too, for sleep, for L harmony, for protoplasm, for shikaras, for my V2. Back in Sydney, sitting in traffic, I first started to remember. Your ribs glowing beneath your skin, your monk birthmark, your tasteless tattoo poo, your gray hair, your mysterious zhangzhi, your dirty whisper, kiss me on the stars. But no, this is not a memory. This is my curdy, ephemeral brain Yutzi plus your festering, moist posset. It's old blood that's splashing around inside me, my Perbert Helong Zhang on oozing banks of which you piss and shit. Yes, in spite of this innate Salt 6, your friend is having a hard time without you, without your elbows, your govan, your rings, without your final yelp and your ribbity squeak. Ooh-ee-wah! Rips, I wanna drain you off. Sometime soon. Okay, top direct. Blue Lard. Okay, those are my 6 selections. The Seven Madmen, a Latin American novel about a swindler. The Lair, about a teacher on an island in Denmark. The Radiance of the King, a European man stranded in Africa. The Fawn, a tale of communist Hungary. The Stone Face, a tale of an African-American man going to Paris. Blue Lard, a science fiction novel from Russia. Please leave your vote in the comments of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and keep on reading.